A good movie director comes to a set early in the morning and walks the scenes through that he's going to do that day, himself, alone, so he can think and concentrate on it. Then once he's got it, he relaxes somewhat. You know, the day is from 9 to 5, and that's it. It's not like the old days. He was so concentrated on what he wanted. I mean, there wasn't a moment of film that he printed that wasn't exactly what he wanted. His pictures are wonderful.
Not a lot of coverage. He sometimes would do a shot 3 or 4 times because they were so paranoid. In the early days, especially, not so much on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because that was a co-United Artists production and a fairly large budget. But in the early days, they'd do a couple takes because they figured the lab would screw up the first 2 or 3, or somebody would get scratched, or somebody would drop it. There was just all kind. It was a very, very haphazard crew.
Leone didn't do much directing. He knew what he wanted in his shot. He knew how to set it up. He had a wonderful cameraman named Tonino Della Colli, a little man who was brilliant with a camera.
Sergio chose Tonino Della Colli as cinematographer. He's undoubtedly one of the best cinematographers in Italy.
In Italy, the photographers are great. It's atavistic, you know. It dates back centuries. The talent these people have. I mean, when the Italians went into high fashion designing, they took it over. They're incredibly talented. And any church you go into in Naples, I mean, in Florence especially, or Rome, there's a masterpiece, a painting.
Hey, Pablo, don't you recognize me? It's me, Tuco.
On the set, the actor spoke the language he knew. There's a scene with my brother.
I don't know the right thing.
He would watch my lips. When I stopped speaking, then he would talk.
What about our parents?
Solo adesso ti ricordi di loro.
And I understood enough Italian. He did it in Italian, or French, or German. Whatever language they spoke, they spoke. They didn't care if there were extraneous noises. Like you say, oh, the camera is making a little noise. They didn't care about that, just as long as the picture was clear.
You'd be doing a scene, and in your eye line off of the one side of the camera or another, you'd see a couple guys back there playing Frisbee or making motions or telling jokes, and you hear people talking, and it's very, very distracting. And I just kind of forged over it. It gave me a reason to concentrate that much more intently. They just weren't used to the quietness of a set where sound is a very important feature. I'd make up a lot of stuff anyway, and so would Eli. We'd just do the scenes and whatever the intent was, and then. But you did have to keep track of it because you're going to loop it later.
There's an actor who lived in Rome named Mickey Knox, who lived in Rome, and Mickey, they gave him the job of the dubbing.
I would sit at a small moviola and go over the film or each speech back and forth, and had to fit in what I adapted in English into the lips. With Eli and Clint, it was easier than the others because they only spoke English, and many times it was good enough. I spent a whole morning on one line, just 2 words. In Italian, there's a big close-up of a guard saying to prisoners of war from the South, and they're playing while they're torturing Eli. The music is supposed to drown out the screams. At one point, they start to cry, the musicians. The line in Italian is più forte, which means louder.
Più forte.
Well, I couldn't get it in. Più forte has 2 labials.
Più forte.
I was stuck on it until I came back from lunch, and I thought, wait a minute, I got it.
More feeling.
Knox's work was very important and very effective for this reason.
I don't give a goddamn what they do in Andersonville. While I'm in charge...
The sync must have been perfect. Otherwise, the American audience would look that there was no sync. And immediately the picture would be qualified as a poor picture.
You see, in this world, there's 2 kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns dig. You dig.
The major problem that I've always had in translating and adapting scripts from Italian English is the humor. It's different. American humor is not like Italian humor in many, many cases. I had to find the American humor and fit it into the dialogue.
See you soon. Idiots. Hmm? It's for you.
I didn't think I was funny in places. People quote to me one line I said all the time.
When you have to shoot, don't talk.
I didn't think it was funny. I think I was just shot a man, and I said, you wasted your time. I'm going to shoot you. That's all. But for some reason, it turned out oddly, and people took pleasure out of this man.
It's actually a truism of movies, especially action movies, that less dialogue is more and has more of an impact.
Why?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
We're going for a ride.
Where?
Clint was always arguing with Sergio for less dialogue.
And you?
He thought that this guy should be really silent, not have any exposition whatsoever, keep his comments to almost fragmentary sentences.
That's right. $2,000.
Yeah.
What little dialogue Clint has tends to be very memorable. For example, in Good, Bad, and the Ugly, when he finally comments on the carnage of the big battle at the bridge.
Never seen so many men wasted so badly.
That really zings out at you because he has up to now made no comment about the stupidity of the whole conflict. He hasn't said a word, but when he finally does speak that line, it's very potent.
A couple steps back.
I think in Good, Bad, and Ugly, Clint's character is sort of mysteriously darker than he is in the others. For example, when he decides to break up his partnership with Eli, there's no particular motive for that. He just up and does it.
Adios.
You know, maybe there's some backstory we're not privy to, but, you know, it's a good scam they've got going. It could go on for a long time with it. And it just doesn't make much sense. On the other hand, he's also in the later passages of the movie more humane than he's been in his previous movies, I think. He's going a little bit more toward humanity on the one hand, a little bit more toward a kind of enigmatic darkness on the other. There's a little bit more range in this character.